Hey everyone, so in this video we're going to add the on-screen indicator for the user to know what order needs to be placed on the plate, because up to this point we've only known what needs to be ordered because we've been putting the value down here in the console. That's not a great way for the user to see it, not to mention the user won't see the console. You would need to have some kind of on-screen display. So what I did is I created some images, and we're going to use those images as textures. Those textures are going to be applied to these planes, and then that will indicate what needs to be served. Okay, so normally with a game like this, the approach they take is they make an image. Like in Overcooked, there's a bunch of images in the upper left corner. You can cook it in whatever order you want. But with something like this, you're specifically saying this plate needs to be something, this plate needs to be something, this plate needs to be something. So you want an image here to indicate what it is. Now, typically what you'd probably do is you would have the customer sitting or standing right here, and then what you could do is you could take this and move it off to the side a little bit, and it'd be like in a speech balloon, them saying, this is what I want. Or maybe you have them holding up a menu, and it has the picture in the menu. Now, this was very tedious to do because what I did is I created a new scene, which isn't going to be in the final game, and I just stacked up the various combinations, did a screenshot, and then turned it into an image here. And it was just take a screenshot, clip it down in Paint, and save it in here. The naming convention I used is obviously the value that we've been using in GameFlow, the order value. So that's why it doesn't have any letters, it's just numbers. This is matching the possible numbers for the order. Now, the reason why I took that approach is I was hoping to try to find a way to look at the value of the order, compare it to the name of the texture, and have it be able to do it in just a couple lines. I couldn't make it work, but this still has benefits in naming it this way, as you'll see. Okay, so that's what the prep was. I created 3 planes, and then I created the various objects that can be requested, ordered. You can hand draw it. I've seen some do that. I just use the objects from in-game. Okay, so we also added a new script, which I'll get to at the end because that's really what makes this functionality work. And I think that's all that I have to explain for the prep. So let's get into the actual coding. So we added 3 planes. We're going to apply the corresponding image to that plane. So how do you do that? Well, if we click on the GM object and we go to the GameFlow script. So this is all previous, because we covered that in the last video. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. I noticed that views from the first video to the second dropped in half, so I'm not sure how many people are even going to watch this one, but I figured I'd make at least one more. Okay, so what did we add new? We added public mesh renderer, and once again, it's an array, and it's called current pick. And then we have public texture, which is the order pick. So current pick is actually this. So even though it's called pick, it's referring to the plane, or specifically the mesh renderer of the plane. And then these are the order picks, okay? And again, once you create a public array, it's just a matter of taking the object and just drag and dropping it. So you can see plane 0, plane 1, plane 2, plane 0, plane 1, plane 2. It's just a matter of drag and drop. Same thing for the textures. It's just drag and dropping it into the individual scenes. Not scene, excuse me, into the individual elements for the array within the scene. So those are the first 2 new variables we created. They're both arrays. And then this public static float empty plate now. So this does 2 things. What I wanted to do is I wanted to have an indicator that says remove the food from the screen because it's been served. Okay, hence the name empty plate now. But I also wanted to have a value that, or a variable that says which plate needs to be emptied. So you could have a Boolean that says yes or no, is it time to empty a plate? And then a separate value that says, okay, which plate? I combine those into one because what you're going to see is that there's code that says if this is -1, then nothing gets deleted. If it's not -1, then go ahead and delete it. So rather than having that separate Boolean that you're trying to manage, you can use just one variable. It makes things a little bit simpler on you. At least I think it does. Okay, so that's going to be used to determine if it's time to empty the plate and which plate should be emptied. We'll get into that in a minute. Total cache is going to be used to be increased whenever you serve a plate. We only do a little bit with that because that's really up to you to determine what the values are going to be, what's going to adjust the values. I just wanted to show you how you could get that started. So those are the new variables that have been added. As far as the GameFlow script, this is what's been added. Please do not let this deter you because this is actually 2 lines of code repeated with only 2 changes. So it looks like a lot, but it's rinse and repeat. Okay, so this is a for loop that's going to run 3 times. It's going to run rep being 0, rep being 1, and rep being 2. Why? Well, because order value up here, we're going to check to see what the order value is and then change the corresponding current pick. Remember, current pick refers to the plane which is going to display the image of the order. So order value has always referred to the plates. Okay, it's just we've never had an indicator. So this is plate 0, plate 1, plate 2, plate 0, plate 1, plate 2, plane 0, plane 1, plane 2. So that's why you need to use the same variable. So rep is saying, let's compare the value in position 0, and then we're going to change the value for the main texture for current picture 0. And again, current picture is the image above the plate, the corresponding plate. So it's just current picture rep dot get component mesh renderer dot material dot main texture equals order pick 0, which is this one right here. And I just did it sequentially. So these are order of increase. So 11001, 11011, 11101, so on and so forth. And so you're just repeating the same if statement again and again and again. Because if you look at the next one, if order value rep, so that's identical, is equal to this, so that's the next number in the series. Current pick rep, again, that's identical. Get component, mesh renderer, material, main texture equals order pick 1. So all that's changing is this value and this value. So as far as scalability, this isn't too bad because you can readily copy and paste the code and make the 2 changes. And adding new images does not break the code. So this is pretty solid. It's not the kind of 1 or 2 line calculation that I hoped for, but at least it makes it, naming the pictures the way that I did makes it really easy to compare. 11001, which one's that? 11001. Okay, it's picture 0. Which one's this? 11111, order picture 11111, so it's 3. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of these. It's just rinse and repeat. So it starts as rep 0. So if order value 0 is equal to that, then current picture 0 should be equal to that. If order value 0 is equal to that, then current picture 0 should be equal to that. It's just going to keep checking. And then it repeats. Order value 1, because again, we've got 3 orders. So now it's looking at this. So if order value 1 is equal to that, then current picture 1 should be equal to that. If order value 1 is equal to that, then current picture 1 should be equal to that. And then it repeats. It does one more rep, because as long as it's less than 3, so 0, 1, and 2. And again, this is position 2. So if order value 2 is equal to that, then current picture 2 should be equal to that. Again, we're taking the order and we're changing this image to correspond to it. That's the bulk of what's happening. There's one more thing, but that's the bulk of it. So again, it's a lot to look at, but if you don't get overwhelmed, it's really just 2 lines of code, rinse and repeat. Okay, I am hoping I did not make a hash of that. Nothing else different here that was added in the last video. Click place. I don't believe anything was here. So click place is the food at the bottom of the screen except for the hamburger. So yeah, that has not changed. Meat con, this is when you click on the meat at the bottom of the screen and it moves it to the frying pan. That has not changed. Cook move is also for the meat. So when you click on the meat in the frying pan, it moves it to the plate. That also has not changed. So the movement to the plate in the pan has not changed. What's changed is when you click on the plate, we now want the food to be deleted because it's been served. So serve plate. Now, this has not changed. We explained this in the last video. So as messy as it looks, it's just saying look at a certain order value, compare it to the corresponding plate that has just been clicked on, and then the debug is simply for our benefit of testing. You don't actually have to put that in there. If you click on the plate, we're presuming that it's a final, it's a serve. So right now there's nothing in place to say, are you sure you want to serve this? You can always put control in there later. You're going to find that when you make a game, there's just a lot of little things you're going to put into place to make sure that the user doesn't break it and totally go off the rails. And here's that new value. So gameflow.emptyPlate now, because it starts as -1, transform.position.x. Remember in the first video, I said that, actually second video, excuse me, I said that I put the plates at very specific locations. Plate 0 is at position x position 0, plate 1 is at x position 2, and plate 3 is at x position 4. So I know where the plate should be. So I'm taking this value and I'm saying what is the x position, because that will tell me which plate it is. It's 0, 2, or 4. So I click on the plate, the x position is set, this value is set to the x position of that plate that you've clicked on, and then we start a coroutine. There may be a cleaner way to do this, but I wanted to make sure that the system had enough time to delete all of the objects on the plate. You might be able to do this a different way, but this is the way that I chose it. So what happens is when you click on the plate, this coroutine will run. It waits 0.2 of a second, and then the value is set back to -1. Again, -1 is indicating that nothing more needs to be deleted. So we've given the system 0.2 of a second to delete, which is way more time than what it needs. And now that we've set this to don't delete anything else, we're now going to add to the value of your total cache. So gameflow.totalcache, another new variable we added, is equal to gameflow.orderTimer this plate times 0.10f. This is completely arbitrary. What this is saying is, what's the order timer? Remember how every single plate has a timer. It starts at 60 and it clocks down. Usually, if you get a tip in a game like this, it's predicated upon the remaining time. The quicker you get it to them, that is, the more time that remains, the better of a tip you get. So what this is doing is just taking that number and multiplying it by 0.1. So if there's 45 seconds left, you will get, because the number is just 45, okay? 45 times 0.1 is 450. So that means they give you 450. You're going to want to have something much more complex than that, because depending on the ingredients, you might want to charge them more or charge them less. And then just the tip would be predicated upon the time as well as how accurate it is. Way beyond the scope of this video, because now you're getting into the specific game balance, and I probably won't do a video for that, because at a certain point, you're going to have to take what I've given you and make it your own. Because we're looking at the core functionality, it's up to you to then take that core functionality and give it some charm, give it some appeal. What sets your different from everyone else's? But we'll get to that at the very end. Okay, so the last thing we need to look at is a new script. So a new script was created, and this is added to the instantiated version of the food. So it's not added to these, it's added to these, the one that's been instantiated. So if you see, remove food, hamburger, remove food. So each one of them has the remove food. Now what this is going to do, so like I said, I'm using the X position to determine which object should be deleted. However, since we're using physics and it's dropping into place, I created a range to offset for that. Now, there's probably another way you could do it. You probably could have the position, once it collides, you could set the position to 0, 2, or 4. Couldn't be bothered to do that. So what I did is I created a range. So gameflow.emptyPlate now. Okay, so we said it's going to be 0, 2, or 4. If it's -1, then this doesn't happen. So empty plate. Now, if it's greater than transform.position.x minus 0.4 and gameflow.emptyPlate is less than transform.position plus 0.4. So in other words, you're creating the outer limit. So what I'm doing, I'm saying, let's look at the position of the object the script is attached to. This is attached to the food. Minus 0.4 from it, add 0.4 from it. If empty plate now is in between there, then go ahead and delete it. Hopefully that's not too confusing. Again, the reason why it doesn't just look for the X position is because since you're using physics, it might move ever so slightly to one side or the other. And so we're just creating a slight range and saying if empty plate now is within that range, then go ahead and delete it. Again, I hope I didn't make a hash of that explanation. It looks kind of ugly, but if you're familiar with creating ranges to adjust for that. And then what this is saying is that if this object that this script is attached to, which is the food on the plate, if it's within the range, or should I say, if the plate now number is within the range that this is sitting on, then go ahead and destroy the object. Again, it's connected to the food on the plate, and therefore the food on the plate would be destroyed. And I think that is all that was added to this one. And you can just pause the video if you want to copy that down. And if I didn't forget anything, so as you can see, we have a bun, cheese, bacon, hamburger, and bottom of the bun. So we're going to do a bottom of the bun. We'll get the hamburger cooking. We'll tab over. We'll put another bun. Tab over, put another bun. Tab back. Actually kind of feels like a game at this point. We'll put the hamburger there, and now we have a picture of bacon. And yes, I redrew this. So basically, there's just one strip being dropped, but the one strip is now repeated 3 times. If you want, I can show you how I did that. We said there's cheese, there's a bun, and now I click on the plate. Boom, it's gone. It's been served, and you can see correct and 17, almost 18 seconds left. So now if we go here, we'll put 2 hamburgers at once. Again, it shouldn't let you cook them at the same time, but there's no control stopping it. And so eventually what you'd want to do is you'd want to add additional plates, additional pans rather. So 2 hamburgers, just cheese, bun, bam, correct. And then we'll do one more. Whoops, see, I messed up. So what we need to do is we need to cook 2 more, and I need to tab over. So this would probably be thrown away, or else you're going to serve the wrong person, or you're going to serve the person the wrong thing. Now, what would happen in the final version of the game is that this, when you serve this, this should change and show you what the next customer wants. We'll check there. And there we go, correct, and negative 60 seconds left. So that's one of the reasons why that calculation wouldn't work great because we just reduced our cash by giving them their meal. But again, you need to have a calculation in place. That's where you can put the calculation, and then you just have to modify it accordingly. Okay, so I think that's about it for this tutorial. Unless there's something specific you want to see, I'm thinking this is going to be the last or next to last. As I mentioned, viewership has already plummeted. I lost like half the views from the first video to the second video. So if you guys want to see it, please leave a like. Please leave a comment saying what you'd like to see. But I think we're getting very close to the end anyways because the core functionality is here. It's just you putting your touch to this because even though it's functional, it's bland. There's no personality, there's no character. I'm not trying to criticize these assets. I actually like them, but there's nothing really charming about this. It's functional but sterile. So you would have to bring whatever you want to this. So, maybe all the people, maybe you're going for like an anime demographic. So all the customers are cat ladies. Or maybe you're going to a boy band demographic. So all the customers look like they're from BTS, whatever. Add your charm to this, add your touch to this because that's the core functionality. The menu is kind of limited, so maybe I could do one more video, but I've already explained how this works, so it's just working within that framework. Okay, so I think that's about it. I hope that you found this interesting. I hope that you found it useful. Again, if you want to see more, please leave a like. Please leave a comment about what you'd like to see. Maybe I can do at least one more of these. But like I said, the core functionality is really there now. It's just you adding your touches to this. Okay, so please enjoy the rest of your day.